Well, knowing that quite a few of you are working on data sets that you have acquired from somewhere else or generated somewhere else, transfer of files, so transferring files into and out from the compute clusters and compute system seems to be a rather, should I say, important thing to know about. We are basically going to cover 3 different scenarios during this. We are going to have, well, there are 3 situations where you, maybe I should turn on my camera, by the way. Let's see, yeah. What camera is showing? Do you see my back side of my head or the front of my head?
Well, I see your face now.
You see my face now. Great. There are 3 basic situations we want to cover. One is moving files in and out from internet. This is used with the wget command, which we have used a couple of times already. I don't really see the point of going through that again. Point is to know that wget basically is a combination. The name is a combination of World Wide Web and get. So basically, it's a machinery that's made for downloading from the internet using standard protocols and has support for quite a few of the ordinary files that you get and find on the web. The other situation which is useful to know about, especially for those who work with collaborative projects, either coding or other collaborations where they share and work on same text setup and or same, say, I don't know, database, is the GitHub or the Git clone. So I'll just mention these. I can show you the Git. I'm not sure how much this has been mentioned beforehand, so I'll show you the example. There is an example in the text. Git standard syntax is git clone wherever. Wherever this repository exists.
There is an extra S after your com.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah. And you should see this gives me another folder, or I should maybe I should remove it so you see. So first you see that I have the exercises from yesterday. I have a folder I call training, and I have the desktop folder since I've been testing the remote desktop. But that's it. So if I do git clone github.com/test/hello world.git. now you see that I have another folder, and that contains, well, it contains some information, some files. I haven't really checked if this is the actual content of that folder on the web or on GitHub, but this is how it's supposed to work.
Well, if I can ask you a question, so one thing that I see that is noticeably missing from our training material is, from where can you actually do this? Can you do this on at any point? Can you do it during your job? Can you do you do it on the login node, or where should you do it?
That's a fair point, because login should be rather much available from everywhere. So if in the login node, you can download from almost from anywhere. But on compute, there are some restrictions. So if you do this inside a job, you might pre-check if they are available. That you can do easily by submitting an interactive job. Just check if that place is available. I'm pretty certain that GitHub is available.
That is correct.
Throughout, during, from the computer. And I think GitHub and GitLab, I tried to do some random checking with wget yesterday, and quite a few of the web pages, at least containing already known software, seems to be available.
Yes, but that is a manually curated list of available domains where you can actually download stuff from. So, yes. You might encounter some websites that are blocked from the compute nodes, but as a general rule, you should probably try to download all your files from the internet before you actually start a job.
Yes.
Because spending time on compute wouldn't really be useful for that.
That's a waste of resources, since as somebody said previously, the clock starts ticking immediately when you submit the job. So if you spend most of your time downloading, you are charged for not working. But that's a fair point. And also for wget, accessing files or downloading files from the internet is you need to manually check each incident just to be sure. For GitHub, it should be available on compute. But still, if you can download it previous to your job, your computations, you save time. Yeah. So I'm trying to pay attention to the ongoing markdown document, but I will mostly try to focus on what I'm planning to say. So please, if there are questions or if I move too fast, say, and or some of the co-instructors just let me know by interrupting. What we want to focus mainly on here is the migration of files, the transfer of files from your laptop to your to the compute resource at hand. In this case, from. And we want to use a command set called rsync, which is basically meaning remote synchronizing of files. And the name matters quite substantially, since it's synchronizing files, meaning that if you have a set of files which you already have downloaded, this machinery can, by setting additional flags, just ignore what it doesn't have to move. And it can also start halfway in. Say if you get an interrupt, I will say more about this, and hopefully also Øystein will interrupt me if I forget to say more about this later. But if you get an interrupt, if you want to move a certain amount of data, you might risk that sometimes the connection is broken, and rsync starts where you dropped, which is a tremendous advantage over the machinery used to teach before, a secure copy, which is only copying files and not synchronizing. So basically, if you lose connection, you would have to start again. But from a rational perspective, rsync is a much better solution. And tests done by Radovan, all hail to him, shows that also rsync is substantially faster currently. Yes, we are here now. So we want to move a file from my laptop to my well, home folder in Fram. So I'll go out here. Now on my home machine laptop in the folder I call training, I will just make a file. Yeah. I have a small file I just called from laptop GUI, and I want to move it to my to Fram. And the standard command is, as said in the document, rsync giving some flags, the path to the local file, and then you need to add the username and then the path to the remote machine. So I'll make a document called from laptop txt, and I will follow the example, moving it to Fram. I can actually do it the exact same way as it was set up in the example. There you are. Now you see that this is the content of the file. Basically, the date of today and the time. So now I want to do. I want to move this file to Fram, and I want to move it to my hold folder. No, I want to move it in the folder I call training in Fram. So I'll name the text file, which is basically, I don't have to add any path because it is in the folder from where I'm sending it. And I need to add my username and the path. So I want to put it in the training folder. If I do not have, so the reason why I now have no slash in front of training is because that folder is residing just under my my home folder on Fram. If it were somewhere else, I would need to add an extra path to it. And now, since I don't add any specific name, I guess it's just transfer without moving, changing the name. Adding flags. Makes sense. Yeah, this will be addressed a bit later, what these flags actually do. So, and what happened now is that I've been cheating a bit, so that's why I didn't have to press a password. See here in training should now contain from laptop text, as you see here. Now we want to do the opposite. So what I'll do, I'll rename.
Just so it's actually clear when we're actually using them for the first time, should we just go through the flags right away? So just to have everyone understand why we have them. Do you want me to do that?
Yes, please.
Yes. So if you could just bring up the command you actually, or well, okay, yeah, you have it on the right side there. So rsync is the actual program being used, and usually you can get away with just having the ABZ flags always there, because it will cover most of the cases. So A is for archive, which is in most cases the same as -R, which is used for in SAP. So that is if you want to copy a folder containing files, you actually need to specify that it's not just the thing you're pointing at, but also everything below it. Archive will make that folder into a single blob and then send that blob over. V is for verbose. That's standard in most cases. That just gives you some more output from the command. And Z is for zip, meaning it will compress the data being sent. Some types of data will compress very well sometimes, and you will have huge savings in transfer speed, and sometimes some things will not be compressed that well, but that is, yeah, up to, that depends on the data. But those flags is kind of like the standard flags. You can keep them on at all times if you, yeah.
Great.
Back to you.
Yeah, great, thanks. Now we are now going to transfer the file back from Fram to my laptop. So I'll rename the file I sent there, just to sorry about that. So we can obviously see that something has changed. Sorry. So now, you know what? I'll go on top of the. So now you see that I have now the document has now a SNT ending. Doesn't really matter. It's for sent. So I want to do. I want to download from the cluster. So I do rsync minus a this said.
Shouldn't you be on your laptop now?
Yes, I am.
Oh, then so okay. Sorry, I didn't see you type exit from the camera.
I did before you took over the chat. I was cheating. But I'm now, to make it crystal clear, I'm now on my laptop and typing rsync minus AV said.
I have one more question. So the file you renamed, where is that residing?
It's on my laptop.
Oh, okay. Okay. Sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you renamed the file to be able to on the cluster. Yeah, sorry.
I would typically prefer to alternate between the windows, but yeah.
Sorry.
rsync minus AV set, but now I do the remote address first. And I want to go to training. And I want to move the from cluster txt. I want to move it to the folder I'm actually sitting in. So I just type full stop. Okay. That was unexpected. I see what I did wrong. I need to call it from laptop, of course, because that's what I actually called it. That should work fine. Yes. And now you see here, I've gotten the file back again. Then how do you move multiple files or even directories? Would you care to walk through this, Øystein?
What the command means, or actually sharing the screen?
Sharing the screen, please.
Sure, I will need to set it up then. Give me a second. The idea of it is actually quite simple. If you, as long as you have the A flag specified in rsync, and you specify a folder instead of a file, it will transfer a folder instead of a file.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I misunderstood the text. It was so. It was okay.
Yeah.
I'll just.
You can also specify more than one file with just having a space between them. So it will always be. You only have one remote location, but you can have multiple local locations. So if you specify either two files or a folder and a file, everything will be sent in the same command.
Yeah. Just to sorry for the slight confusion. Just to continue on what Øystein just said. What I now did was I made a copy of the training folder called testing, which is here. And now one way of moving multiple files is basically to move a whole directory. I apologize for not checking, but do rsync accept wildcards?
Yes, it should.
Yeah. So I could actually go into this. I could go into this folder and just basically type rsync -avz. And that should work. Yes, as you see here, it transferred 3 files to my home in From. And just to check, now I have on From, I have all the 3 files I just transferred. But another way of doing this is actually to move the whole folder. That is done the exact same way. Do I need I don't need the trailing slash, do I?
The command will be different if you do. So that's actually a really interesting work with rsync. If you add a trailing slash, it will copy all the content of that folder. Basically, exactly what you just did. If you take away the trailing slash, it will copy the actual folder. So by having the trailing slash, you would copy those 3 files that are contained inside that folder. If you don't have the trailing slash, you will copy a folder containing those 3 files. So there is a slight but actual important difference there.
Yeah, that's one of the first things I learned, and it's kind of really important. Think of the slash as going into the folder and then copying.
Yeah, and you will not remember this, and you will do it wrong, and you will fill up your own folder with 2,000 files, and but that's part of learning. So that's how it goes.
Even if we told you, you will learn this the hard way also.
But once you see you have 2,000 files in your home folder, you might think back while trying to figure out what happened and remember what I just said about this. So that might shorten the amount of time spending trying to figure out why this is happening.
Yes, now we see here that the whole folder has been moved and the contents of it. So if we log into from again,
And just to avoid some confusion, if someone saw that there was a file called .ds store being transferred, that just like an automatically generated file that Mac creates. So it's technically in the folder. It's just not something that you should.
I guess you see it by pressing show all. This here is something that Mac does, so it's of no importance. Yes. I want to just briefly say something about transferring large amounts of data. But before that, as I said on the previous session, transferring files using graphical user interface, I look at it at the end or during the take it part of the exercise session. But there is an important note about working with files generated in different environments, which I just want to say, and that is typically it is rather typical with Windows files. Sometimes you run into problems if you use typical Windows tools to generate or edit files. The trick is to either edit them manually or to do using the Windows DOS to Unix and the file name, which it kind of transfers from. It's from old MS-DOS, Microsoft type setup to Unix-like, and if you want to change the other way, you use the opposite command, which is Unix to DOS, and then file name. That is in a Linux environment, but also, as you said, Øystein, during the break we talked, you said something about Windows having a tool for this also.
Well, so most code editors have. Where you would encounter this problem mostly is in code. So, for instance, in Visual Studio Code, if you could just put Visual Studio Code on your screen, you will see down on the right side, at the bottom on the purple line, there is somewhere it will have either LF, like Lima Foxtrot, or CRLF, Charlie Romeo Lima Foxtrot, which means carriage return line feed or just line feed. So on Windows, the standard new line is carriage return and the line feed after each other. On Linux and other POSIX systems, it's on just line feed. And that could introduce some problems at the in some programs will not play that well with that.
Espen and Øystein, sorry to disturb. So we are ending the session in another 2 minutes, and it will be nice if we can have some time for look at the HackMD as well. Just to let you know that we only have 2 minutes left.
Okay. Okay. I plan to use 45, but whatever. Okay. Speaking of moving large amounts of data, a general rule is if you want to move really serious amounts of data, contact us first. There are ways of running it in parallel, but don't do this before you have sent a request to support, because this will really put some strain on the login system. So don't do it.
What is the ballpark of what is actually a really large amount of data? Because that might differ from what.
Yeah,
people
in our
think of.
world, yeah, I would say everything above a terabyte should be because under that you now can do it quite okay in serial using this, using basically the command said here, and the P, the extra capital P, basically is a mix between the partial and the progress options. Basically meaning that, as it said here, the partial option ensures that partially transferred files are kept, as I said in the beginning, allowing you to resume the transfer in case of interruption. The progress option displays the progress of the transfer, so you actually know what kind of how far it went.
It just gives you a nicer view of in the console, but it's mostly useless for smaller files because it will just.
Maybe I could just quickly show.
You will need a large file to actually do it.
To make it useful. I didn't generate a large file for this. Yeah, that is basically what I plan to say. There are some information on the bottom of the page. It's ports is only relevant if you run into problems. Backup is relevant if you accidentally delete something you've been working with. And it's also quite well documented on the standard documentation page. Yes.
And sorry about not having the time to show the Visual Studio graphical way of transferring files, but it is documented in the course material. So, and it's quite straightforward.
It's rather intuitive. So, but we can try to. Well, if people really want to see it, we can try to find some time after this course. I'll hang around for half an hour extra.
So, Espen, I'm going to take the screen.
Yes, please do. Then I stop sharing.
Yeah. So we will keep on answering the HackMD. And thank you for your attention today.